Hey, good morning, Andrew. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. So
Good.
I know that you own a tap room down in the North Loop of Minneapolis, and
Yeah,
just kind of give us a little background of who you are and why you have
sure.
a tap room.
Yeah, absolutely. Born and raised in Minnesota. I work for a company. I've spent a lot of time kind of all over the country. I've done some passive investing here in Minneapolis, done a couple different projects, but I was really drawn to iPourIt and the self-serve um, type of concept in my travels in actually Northern California. So that's how this actually all came to be.
So where did you see iPourIt?
Yeah, so the first one that I saw was actually in Santa Cruz at Pour Taproom. I was walking on the street one night, and I walked by and I looked through one of their big windows, and I saw the taps. And at first, I actually thought it was a frozen yogurt place of some kind. And I went inside and realized it was all beer. I couldn't believe it. I'd never seen it before. That was probably in 2016, maybe or so. And so that's how it all came to be. I've always been interested in uh, the beer and food scene in Minneapolis, which is very vibrant, especially before the pandemic. And I thought it really could use something like a self pour concept. And so that's how we ended up here.
So, I mean, instead of just opening a cool kitchen and a bar, what drove you to self-serve? What was the interest
Yeah,
there?
great question. So I never saw myself as owning a restaurant. I have so much respect for the businesses in our neighborhood and even what we do now in terms of food. It's a lot of work. It's very difficult. There's a lot to it. And so the reason that I actually considered this was because of the pour your own system. It is more profitable. It's easier to manage. There's actual very solid business advantages that make owning a restaurant worth it when you're using self pour.
So you start kind of doing your research, thinking about doing this in Minneapolis. What drove you to iPourIt?
Right. So when I first saw it in Santa Cruz, I walked up to the screen and I noticed a little iPourIt logo in the bottom right hand corner. So I went back down. I literally sat at the table. I Googled it and I found a phone number and I left a message on Tom Jenkins' cell phone. And when I dialed the number, actually, I think it was when he called me back. It was a Minnesota area code from the west part of the Twin Cities. And I was like, this is very bizarre. So long story short, completely hit it off with Tom, then being Darren introduced to you. The reason that we chose iPourIt was because of the relationship that I've built with you and with Tom, but also how integral your team was in helping us create this. So from I guess call it a consultative perspective of helping us build this business, I'd never owned a restaurant before, never had done the self-pour in the past, so I had no idea how to set that up. There's a lot that goes into actually creating the system. And I just felt that iPourIt was there to support us to get that done and to get launched and to have a system that worked well.
So did iPourIt help you with the data to put together a pro forma or actually kind of view the type of business that you're going to be creating?
For sure. This business, what I've learned, there are a lot of things that have been done the same way for a long time. It's an industry that can be seemingly a little bit resistant to change. And so it really wasn't of any use for us to abide by and follow the same standards of building a restaurant business. And so we really had to lean on iPourIt to help us with those performers because they are different. Keg shrink is different. Profit per ounce, revenue or margin per ounce is different. And that's something that, Darren, you did a great job of helping us set that up because this is different. It is a little bit disruptive. And so there wasn't a playbook. And so, yeah, you guys helped us a ton with that.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you, Andrew, for that shout out. At iPourIt, we really take a lot of effort to work with folks like you, and because your success is really our success.
I appreciate that. I mean, we look at this business. We're a local business. We're locally owned, and we want to work with people that are invested in our success. We want to treat our vendors well, and we want to have good relationships. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. If there's something that we need from any vendor, iPourIt or not, we have to have that support and that vested interest. And I think you guys do a really good job of that.
Now you guys have been open for what, maybe 2.5 years. I'm sure that when you first opened, you had a number of challenges. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about those and how you overcame them.
Sure. So, of course, this is a very different and unique concept that people are not used to. And so when we first opened, the biggest challenge was awareness and to usher people in to show them how the system worked. Because one of the things I will say that we got from a media standpoint was being criticized for this idea that we were taking away jobs and eliminating bartenders. And I think that that's something that we've worked really hard to change that perception. And that, at the end of the day, yes, we might have a little bit less staff, but we still have to have people at the tap wall engaging, having a conversation, making people feel at home when they're in our space. And so at the beginning, to answer your question, that was a huge challenge. It was, listen, we're not this automated, completely far away from traditional service business. There are a lot of the same similarities. So I'd say that was the first one. And then on top of that was just once we got them in the door and got them comfortable, just getting them to use the system, right? How do you scan? How do you pour? Be surprised how many people haven't poured their own beer before. So there was a lot of that education. But outside of, those things that were really specific just to our business, it is very easy to operate. At the end of the day, I think there's a lot more challenges that come with probably just a traditional restaurant than something like this. You are able to simplify and streamline a lot of things.
So looking back at your first year in business, I mean, did you perform top line like you thought you would?
In the first year, we absolutely did. So, that's pre-pandemic. That's being in an up-and-coming neighborhood. We're 2 blocks from Target Field where the Minnesota Twins play. So the first year, was outstanding. I mean, we did really, really well. I think for this concept, my personal opinion is that foot traffic is really important. And so we had a lot of that. We opened in the middle of the summer. So if we were to do it again, it'd be nice to have that whole twin season. But from a top line perspective, that first year and really ongoing, obviously take out the pandemic, it's been great.
So Andrew, when the two of us first met, we talked about the data analytics and collecting data and using that data to make your business more successful. Yeah. Has that been successful for you, and how do you use that data?
Yeah, good question. So you'd be surprised, at least I was, 51% of our business is female. And so that was something that as we built this business, we didn't expect, but it makes sense, for a lot of different reasons, which we can talk about later. But I think that outside of that, there's a lot of age demographic data. So we actually chose this location with the help of you guys, of course, in selecting where this is going to fit best. So we are in an area, really great median income, a lot of young people, but also older generations that want to be out moving around and go to new places and try new things. So the data that's generated by iPourIt was absolutely used in factoring our decision of where to put First Draft. So that was at the front. Throughout the course of business, now that we're up and running, when it comes to any type of promotional events or making really any decisions, we're using either TapVision or previously the data to help support in the decisions that we're making about our business. And I think that goes back, Darren, to one of the first questions that you asked about, why iPourIt. And I think from a differentiation standpoint of other concepts in this industry, iPourIt allows these businesses to completely set themselves apart from that standpoint of utilizing data. And so if you're a person that is data driven and wants to be analytical and make decisions based on those data points, this is the business for you because it's all right at your fingertips.
So when I walk into First Draft, it's pretty cool how you've used the beer wall strategy from the demographics that we provided. I noticed that when I walk in, the first wall that I look at, it's all female. I mean, you're really concentrating on the millennial female, which was something that we talked about as far as strategy. Yeah. Tell us about how that's working and how you use that in your other parts of the wall.
Yeah, it's interesting. So light and fruity is where it's at. So right when you walk into our space, the very end wall is ciders and sours. That's usually where people stop first, at least the majority of our demographic. And then as far as the other options, we do a lot of IPAs and hazy IPAs. I think a lot of people are doing that. A lot of people, men and women, both gravitate towards trying that type of item because it's popular. As far as the other sides of the wall and how it fits demographic, we're very conscientious of being down here near the Twin Stadium where you've got people coming from out of town. And I think we've all got probably fathers or family members that want Coors Light or Bud Light before they go into the game. We don't have that. We do occasionally, but it's important to us to find things that are like it. It allows us an opportunity to engage with that customer and say, hey, I understand that's what you like, but why don't you just please try this for me and just see if you like it. 9 times out of 10, it works out great. So it really allows us an opportunity to engage with customers at a much different level than a traditional concept, which I think is really cool.
So this technology, obviously, it's software and hardware based. And out of all of the nights that you've been open, have you ever had the system go down where it wasn't working one night?
No, we haven't, thankfully. Knock on wood. I'll let you know if we do. But no, we haven't. We've had some issues, like pretty minor in times where we have had issues. We've called iPourIt support. They've been very helpful and turned tickets around pretty quick. So no, we have not.
So your experience with customer care at iPourIt has been positive.
It has. Yeah, for sure. They're good with follow-up. There have been issues that have lingered a little bit for something unique, but they've done a good job of getting those resolved. I mean, generally speaking, I get that question all the time, whether it be from people that want to put a system in or people that are just curious. It's like, what are some of the issues that you face from a technology standpoint? And again, knock on wood, it's been really good. We have not had issues.
So going back to the decision you've made about using iPourIt, developing this self-serve, concept in the North Loop of Minneapolis, would you make that decision again? Would it be iPourIt? Would it be a self-serve concept?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I think I've used multiple competitors' systems. I think that from a user standpoint, I think iPourIt is superior. I really like how you guys do the individual tap screens and just the setup in general. I like much better. So yes, I would do it again. From a concept perspective, absolutely. If any of your future customers or people that you're talking to that are interested have questions, I'd love to talk to them. There are some little things that I would do that are non-iPourIt related. A smaller space, for example, we've got 4,600 square feet here, which has treated us well, but it's big. But from a technology standpoint, I would do it again. Maybe not do as big of a cooler in the middle of the space. Maybe try something in a wall that's a little bit more easy to manage logistically. But outside of that, I totally would do it again.
So there are some features, obviously, that we have in our system around inventory control. We have added a happy hour program that allows the system to automatically start pricing out products for happy hour, so your guys don't have to think about it, your people don't. Do you use those? How do you use them? Do you use them? Are they effective?
Yeah, we do. So we started here towards the tail end of the pandemic, started doing $3 select taps on Wednesdays. And so our GM, Josh, goes in and puts what taps are going to be on happy hour. Technically, we do $3 taps all day. And so he goes in and loads those. And we've had a lot of success with that. I think it's showed us and proven to us that there's an opportunity to grow that. There's obviously, the sky's kind of the limit, right? I mean, if you want to do something with all the taps before a game or, really specific things that are targeted at a certain demographic, I'll be honest, we haven't even scratched the surface of that. And I think, you guys have done a good job of developing the ability to do those things. And we just frankly need to take advantage of them because we've kind of proven to ourselves that the $3 tap thing works. So now we just got to grow it.
Obviously with iPourIt comes other equipment to make a concept successful, like First Draft. Beer dispense is really the number one outside of self-serve. Can you help me understand what your experience with beer dispense was and why you believe it's important to have a well-designed, well-installed, well-serviced system?
Yeah, for sure. So we used a company that was referred to us by you guys, and it worked out really well. They were local, which I think is important because iPourIt aside, there are things now and again that need to be addressed when it comes to our cooler and our beer dispense system. So what we decided to do, given the complexity of kind of being one of the first to do a cooler like this, at least here in the Twin Cities, we really didn't cut any corners. And so it was really important to us that we used a company that had done standalone coolers themselves, a beer dispense system that knew what they were doing. And then I think what I really appreciated throughout the build out was iPourIt's partnership and communication with that beer dispense company to make sure that everybody was on the same page. Because as you're building out one of these concepts, at the end of the day, and anybody that's built a business similar, it really comes down to herding cats in a lot of situations. And so it was really helpful to have that communication between iPourIt and the beer dispense company, because it made literally the most important part of this business and the creation of this business easy to manage.
So obviously with various self-serve providers, they have different RFID technologies. Can you explain why you like the iPourIt RFID technology compared to others?
Yeah. So we use a wristband before the pandemic. It works really well. I like that it stays on your person. I think I've tried some other systems and I leave a card behind. I know you guys offer the ability to do a card, but the wristband is great for us. It allows people to keep track of them better. Very often with this type of business and any bar, you've got so many tabs open. And so the ability to very easily separate all those tabs per the wristbands is fantastic. From a technology standpoint of those, working well and being durable has not been an issue. I think it's most important probably to talk about the TTKs that was a result of the pandemic. iPourIt does deserve a lot of credit for the creation of those. We got some cool press here in the Twin Cities because of that. A lot of people asked if we created that, the touchless tap key system. I wish we could say yes, but it was iPourIt. Those things are fantastic. And truthfully, it's what we use today for most of our customers. So the idea is that they come in, by the time they come in to First Draft, they're not touching anything. So they're checking themselves in with their photo ID and their credit card and swiping it. We give them they take the TTK out of the basket. They're going up to the tap screen to scan it, put the TTK around the tap handle and pull it. And so it is fantastic and has worked out really, really well.
So let's talk about the penny per ounce and how iPourIt operates. Can you tell me maybe what your ideas of the penny per ounce and what that program offers you?
Yeah, I will. So I think one thing to tie it back to one of the questions about why we picked iPourIt, it's important to note that we want to pick vendors that are interested in our success. And it's important to us that our vendors are successful too. So I think that's one thing the penny per ounce does, is it incentivizes, I think, both parties to hold up to their end of the deal and to continue to innovate. And so in terms of innovation, I think that I've appreciated with iPourIt their willingness and how conscious they are of innovating and making the system better. So with any technology company, if you're not innovating, you're going to get left in the dust. And that was one thing when we first started First Draft, I was a little bit concerned about, is that at what point does this either not become cool anymore, or it's just kind of run its course and there's nothing new. And so I think what iPourIt has done, and the TTKs are a great example of this, is there is innovation, and I know that 50% of my 1% or 1 cent that I'm paying iPourIt is actually going towards things that are going to help this business grow. But also make sure this business stays relevant, because there are systems and things that we can continue to do better, but we can't do that if we're stuck in a box that is the technology. And so it's really, really important that innovation continues.
What is it about you, or what is it about what you do that makes First Draft a place that people want to go?
Yeah, I thank you for that, first of all. I don't think it's me. I think that, we've got a group of owners that are interested in making this a place that people really enjoy. And I think that there's obviously a massive component of this business that it is an investment and we do want to make money, but at the same time, we are woven into this North Loop community, and it's really important to us that we create this space that people really, really enjoy. So I think at the end of the day, if we don't create a culture and an atmosphere for our staff to have a really good time and make money, then it's not going to be a good investment for us. And so I think we've done a good job, especially through the pandemic, of keeping our priorities in order. And I think that's helped a lot. I think the other thing probably is that we've committed, I think at the very beginning of the pandemic, to make great decisions throughout the course of whatever was going to come. And so we stayed very business oriented. We were not emotional. And I think that was huge. And I think while a lot of people were very reactive to the pandemic, we were more proactive and thought about, okay, what is this going to look like at the end? How do we make sure that we take care of our people and take care of our business so when it is over, we can flourish? And so I think that probably has a lot to do with it.
So again, people love to come into First Draft. I've been down there when the patio's open and you got a group from, the condo next door, and they gather 12 of them and they're all goofing off and having fun. I mean, what is it? Is it, I wouldn't say it's the self-serve system that makes it fun, right? It's the atmosphere and what you're doing there. I mean, what's the secret sauce? I mean, what are you doing right?
I wish I knew the answer to that question, because then I have 10 of these. But I think it has a lot to do with the vibe that we've created. And that vibe is based on the feedback that we get. And I don't mean to pat iPourIt's back too much on this, but it is, we see the data. We see the number of people and the ages of the people that come in here. So there's no secret as to who our customer base is. And so, yes, we might see those fluctuations in ages, but at the end of the day, we know where our bread is buttered. And so we've created something that we know, or we think with all the data we have, those people are going to like. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Is the market changing right now? I mean, are people seeking out your concept compared to others around the area?
I would think so. I've had a couple of people stop in that are interested. I think the one huge thing that we focus on here is we want to provide a place where there's things to do. We've got a generation that's coming through in our target demographic. They want to do something, right? They want to they're not on their phone, they need to be entertained. I'm one of those people. So I don't mean to speak poorly about a different generation. We have events 3 nights a week minimum. So whether it be trivia, whether it be live music, things like that, we really focus on that. And I think that that's becoming more common. So if you go to a brewery, if you go to all these different places, there's usually something going on. The cool thing about what we have here and how you can differentiate with the self-pour system is it is in itself something to do. So we have a lot of people that come here on dates. We have actually a podcast that draws in 100 people, and they do a live podcast, and they're all very young and they need something to do. And so this is something to do. It's very easy. You can interact and socialize with people at the taps. So it's almost like a little science experience, social science experience sometime.
So Andrew, you built out in a fairly large brewery market, microbrewery market. I mean, does that affect you? I mean, are you seeing any positives or negatives from that?
It helps dramatically. So we've got 2 very, very well-established and popular breweries that are within eye shot of our front door. So that's Fulton Brewery and Modest Brewing. If we have those beers on tap, they're 2 of our most highly poured beers. And they obviously have no issue with that. We're buying a lot of kegs from these places. So that's not an issue. The other cool thing about this location is that we're in a neighborhood where people understand that it's important to have a little bit of call it a track of places to go, and that we're a stop on that track. And so we have probably 4 or 5 breweries, a lot of restaurants, So it's important to us that we built here in a place where people are coming to the area for new and exciting things. And so whether that be different types of beer, different types of concepts, I think it's really important when you look at investing in a concept like this, that you put it in a spot that has a lot of foot traffic and has a lot going on, because it helps dramatically.
So Andrew, thanks again for your time today. It's always fun to, connect with people who are your age that are a different demographic. If our younger generation is, you're an example of our younger generation, I think we're just going to be fine. I'm not going to worry about my retirement and my later years.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.